Library Board of Directors is proud to support Faribault Community Television.
My name is Delane James, and I'm the director at Buckham Memorial Library. I'd like to give you a little update about what's going on right now. As you come up to the library, you'll notice that the book return is open, and we have these two blue stands. On the left stand, you'll see that we have our tax forms available for anyone to take that needs a tax form. We have the federal forms 1040 SR and those instructions. Also, if you'd like to read a newspaper, you can pick one up from outside the library and be sure to return it when you're done with it. Let's go inside the library and take a look around. Currently, we have lobby pickup service. When you place a request on library materials, when it's ready for you, the library staff will give you a call and they will check out your item and put it in a bag and put it in the lobby with your name on it. You can pick up your request anytime, Monday through Friday, between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Let's go inside the library for a second here. We're currently offering browsing appointments for half an hour. If you'd like to make a browsing appointment, call the library at 507-334-2089. When you get to the library for your browsing appointment, staff will greet you, make sure you have a mask, and we'll check you in for your appointment. After you've browsed the library and want to check out your materials, please be sure to bring them to the circulation desk to check out. You can also ask for a library card here, and staff will be sure to get you signed up right away. If you need any assistance while you're at the library, please stop by the information desk. They can help you place requests or help you with any of your other informational needs. Thank you, and we'll see you at the library.
Hello, Faribault. Nort Johnson here with your Faribault Area Chamber of Commerce and Tourism. It's been an interesting start to 2021. We all see a little light at the end of the tunnel in different ways. Thankful that a vaccine for this COVID virus, this pandemic, that's been difficult on all of us. Every business has been affected differently. And in the same way, all of our personal lives have been affected differently. So we're all acutely aware of what that is and what it's meant. Today I'm going to share some good news. Good news that's a result of the hard work that had been done during 2020 by your chamber board of directors, as well as South Central College and Faribault Public Schools. I have a few things here. First of all, I'd like to announce our new executive committee and new board members for the Chamber of Commerce in Faribault. Suzanne Terry with Edina Realty, who's been on the board 4 years, is taking over the board chair position. Suzanne has been fantastically involved with the chamber since she became a board member. We're pleased for her leadership this year. Jody Long from Genio Turkey Store is our new vice chair. Keith Kramer from Harry Brown's, our new treasurer, and our immediate past chair, Bart Jackson, is still on board with the Bart Jackson Agency. Now, our new board members this year, 3 of them: Daisy Sanchez from Health Finders, Mohammed Hassan from the Genio Turkey Store, and Sonia Davis from the Workforce Center. We're excited for all 3 of those new board members to join us. So as we talk about workforce, that's my segue. There's been some very deliberate action on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, Faribault Public Schools Administration, as well as the school board and South Central College to develop Faribault's future workforce. And I'm proud to announce that H2C, that's high school to college and career, specifically in healthcare pathways, has not only been developed, but it has been launched in the Faribault Public Schools and South Central College. The quick rundown, without going through all the paperwork here, to explain it is quite simply, with the passage of the 7-period day, which is a huge boost for Faribault Public Schools. I mean, an amazing boost for Faribault Public Schools. With that additional period, a year ago this month, Faribault Public Schools was able to offer 26 more class options for Faribault High School students, starting in grade 9. Now, what does that mean? It means a couple of things. One of the first things I should allude to is the fact that out enrollment in Faribault was in part due to the lack of the ability to take multiple classes in a semester that were to your path that you wanted to have. As an example, it was very tough to take both band and choir and still get the classes in that you needed to get. With the 7th period added, those students working on those paths are able to manage that. The other benefit with regard to the additional classes is there are classes now that have been developed in health sciences pathways that Faribault students, I'm getting goosebumps, okay, true story, that Faribault high school kids are able to enroll in 9th and 10th grade that are credentialed classes that have had assistance in development by Alliant Health Systems, by Mayo Health Systems. We have had health finders at the table, Monarch Enterprises, Ritchie Eye Clinic, working with South Central College and Faribault Public Schools to develop classes that meet today's workforce needs in health sciences pathways and careers. So in 9th and 10th grade, students are able to start grabbing those classes, and they count toward a degree. It's a huge boost for Faribault. It's a huge boost for Faribault kids. Health sciences is it's the number one open job position category in the Twin Cities metro area, in the southeast Minnesota region, and the southwest Minnesota region. I've been involved with this work on the periphery or directly for a number of years, and we identified that in 2025 would be the peak of the need for workers in these areas, and we've never caught up. But Faribault is doing the work together. So that's industry, it's the college, it's public schools, it's the chamber with our help organizing some meetings and obviously waving the flag all the way for Faribault economy. So super proud about that. Couple of other things just to let you know some of the good news coming up in Faribault. This pathway that we just described in health sciences is being replicated in industrial sciences. So a number 2 need in Faribault definitely is to provide an able and ready workforce for our industrial businesses. These are professional positions. These are positions that require certifications and training that pay well, have benefits, and are available now. So these same pathways are going into play next year in Faribault Public Schools and Health Sciences with South Central College's partnership. Another big boost for Faribault. Our Chamber of Commerce staff, Board of Directors, and Vision Task Force are incredibly proud to have been able to play a role in helping these fantastic programs come to fruition in Faribault. I'm containing my excitement, just so you know. A couple of other things to share with you. We continue to work on other students and workplace initiatives that are very much complementary to these health sciences and industrial pathways programs. We have a Future Forward portal that allows businesses to post experiences that students, teachers, parents, and counselors are all able to access to help students connect with anything from job shadowing, mentorships, part-time jobs. It could be a job fair, mock interviews, whatever those things might be. This portal is designed specifically to help students connect with business. another great tool. Thank you, Brian Coleman with Faribault Public Schools, for being our big partner on that project, as well as the Southeast Education Co-op out of Rochester, who helped us develop this portal with an Otto Bremer Foundation grant. Troy might back up and fix that for me. Otherwise, just count it up to excitement about these good things that have been happening even through this tough pandemic. Just a couple of other notes. Other things that are happening because the forward momentum has allowed us to create conversations about Cradle to Career Initiative, encapsulate that grade 9 through South Central College period of time in a student's development. There's an initiative going on right now in a steering committee working hard on Cradle to Career Initiative. It takes the main mindset of these to prepare students for work and or college, but it reels it all the way back into pre-K and takes it out through adult basic education. It's a fantastic framework, and there's a lot of great people working on that, including Becky Ford with Faribault Youth Investment, partners from Faribault High School, including Joe Sage and Dr. Anne-Marie Leland, as well as myself from the Chamber and other representatives. Another great program to help boost success in Faribault. Also, there's some organization going on right now with Chamber and private and public partners opening discussions about affordable home ownership opportunities to be developed in Faribault. Look for some news on that over the next year. I'm getting the Shepherd's Hook is coming out. They're going to pull me off here. I'm going to share one other thing though. First and foremost, thank you, Faribault, for giving us the opportunity to present to you and to work on your behalf. And lastly, I want to introduce my guest today. Welcome, Linus. Linus from the on loan from the Faribault Woolen Mills. Do you know, not everybody understood this, but Linus's blanket was indeed made at the Faribault Woolen Mill. So, a little fun at the end of the interview today. Thanks a bunch, Faribault. Keep your chins up. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And please be aware. There's a lot of people in this community coming together at the leadership levels in the city, in the schools, at the chamber, and in industry to move Faribault forward. We're going to keep up that good work. You keep up the support. Thanks a bunch.
Hi, Dr. Michael Ritchie Eye Clinic. Thanks for being with me this week. As you can see, we're still masked up, but I've had my first dose of the vaccine, second one coming soon. Once we start to get vaccinated, we'll be able to move around a bit more freely despite the pandemic. Now, what I want to talk about today is I want to introduce you to a new piece of instrumentation that we have here at Ritchie Eye Clinic. It's kind of an interesting machine because it measures some data and some information that up to this point we have never been able to quantify. That means we've never had a number to tell us how good this problem is or how bad it is. We could qualify it, and what I'm talking about is circulation to the eye. Now, many of you may have diabetes or know someone who has diabetes. Diabetes affecting the back of the eye is what we call retinopathy. And retinopathy is a vascular problem to the eye. People with diabetes can get into trouble when the blood vessels in the back of the eye become leaky. Those leaky blood vessels cause swelling in the retina. Swelling in the retina blurs vision. But they can also get into trouble with lack of blood flow. Ultimately, diabetes has its complications on the body by reducing circulation. And if we reduce circulation to the eye, we get some very unique, special problems. An eye that has a lack of blood flow creates a problem because the retinal nerve tissue has a very unique response to reduced blood flow. If there's a lack of oxygen to the nerve tissue, it's going to release a hormone called vascular growth factor. And this vascular growth factor tries to grow new blood vessels. Well, it's a great theory, because if I don't have enough blood flow, I should grow more blood vessels. Problem is, in the eye, when we start to grow those abnormal blood vessels, they're very fragile and they can bleed, and that's the kind of hemorrhage in people with diabetes that will fill the eye with blood. So we really want to prevent those abnormal blood vessels. In the past, we would assess that with a test called an angiogram. And we do an angiogram of the eye. We have to do an IV injection of dye, and the dye can often cause people to get an upset stomach. And then we take a series of photographs, and it's a cumbersome test. It's fairly uncomfortable, and quite honestly, can sometimes be difficult to read and interpret. So, what we've got is a new machine. This machine is a test that measures a slightly different response. It's measuring the retinal response to a light stimulus. So think of it this way. We shine a light at you. That light enters the eye. It causes the retinal nerve cells to fire. That creates an electrical stimulus. And that electrical stimulus gets transmitted to the brain along the optic nerve. Well, if we have a lack of blood flow, we're not going to have as many normal functioning retinal nerve cells, so that electrical stimulus is going to be diminished. So what we're doing with this test is we're measuring the overall function of the retina, which directly correlates with circulation. Now, the advantage of this is we can get the results of this test. It gives us a number value with circulation. So let me show you. I'm going to show you a test result. This patient's name is covered, so no one can see who it is. But the test is going to give us a printout that looks like this: right eye, left eye. Now, the test itself involves several hundred very quick flickers or flashes of light. And each flash of light is recorded as a line. And these blue lines are the representation of each flash. In a good result, we want the blue lines clumped together, and we want the overall average, as indicated by this little line right here, to be in our green area. That means that the nerves are responding with good enough strength and good enough speed. So the length of the blue line represents the strength of the response, or the magnitude, and the direction indicated by this little line here is faster and slower. With lack of blood flow, we get reduced magnitude and slower speed. Now, this happens to be a patient with diabetes, but we've been treating him. And so his blue lines are scattered a little more than they would be in a normal test result, but his direction, meaning the speed, is really good. So what we've done is we've taken a person with poor circulation, and we have, through treatment with some injections and medicines, we've been able to improve the circulation to his eye, right eye and left eye. Now, this is a gentleman who's had trouble with diabetes, with abnormal blood vessels, and with hemorrhages. So what we've been able to do with our testing, or with our treatment, is get his testing into the normal range. So we would hope this would minimize his risk of hemorrhages down the road. Now, I'm going to show you another test result, and which kind of explains what we look for and how we know when to treat. This is the test result of a gentleman where we're just starting the treatment process. So if we look at this test result, here's his right eye. You can see that his blue lines don't come out very far. So that's reduced magnitude. The strength of response is diminished. And look at where his average is, the speed of his response, is way over here. Normal is over here in this green area. He is very delayed. This is the right eye, and this is the left eye. Again, the left eye with the diminished response and the slow response. So both of these eyes, according to this test, are at risk for developing abnormal blood vessels, which increases the risk of sudden loss of vision with a hemorrhage. So we've initiated treatment in this gentleman, and with our treatments, we want to see the length of these blue lines get better, and we want to see the direction start to shift this way towards our green safe arrow area. That would mean that the retina is responding stronger and faster to a flash of light. Now, this test is called an ERG. It's an electroretinogram. And the best way to think of it is that it's like an EKG, but of the eye. An EKG measures the electrical stimulus of the heart, the pumping of the heart. This measures blood flow to the eye by measuring the electrical response of the eye. So they're very similar test results, very similar test theories. And this is a new test. It's actually a new machine that's only been on the market for less than a year. The technology is old. The technology has been around forever. But this is new in that it's been compacted, it's been made into a device that can be used in the office setting. Test takes about 30 seconds to do. Total setup to being done with the test is about 10 minutes. That makes it very functional, very usable in the office setting, as opposed to the old ERG machines, which took up an entire room, and they were usually in the basement of an eye institution. They weren't even accessible at the hospital. So this makes, basically, this is new technology that's now available to us in a clinic setting. It's really valuable in helping us with circulation problems to the eye. That's not only diabetes, that's blocked blood vessels. It's some help in problems like macular degeneration, but it's really diabetes and other circulatory problems like blocked blood vessels. So there's your latest update on new technology in the eye clinic. I'm Dr. Michael Ritchie, Ritchie Eye Clinic. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, I'm Jessica, the pharmacy manager at Hy-Vee in Faribault. Today I'm going to talk about COVID testing and all the different tests that there are available out there right now. It can be very confusing to know which test to get and when. If you're traveling, what test should you get for that? What test should you get if you don't feel well? What test should you get if you just kind of want to know and think maybe possibly you have COVID, but you don't have any symptoms. So at Hy-Vee in Faribault, we offer two different kinds of tests. One is the COVID PCR test. This is a nasal swab that we're going to administer in the drive-thru. You're going to do the test on yourself, and you're going to be going online and pre-registering for that test. This PCR test takes 3 to 5 business days to get results. So if you're just kind of wondering if maybe you've been exposed to COVID but you're not sure and you want to get results, that might be the best option for you, because you're still going to go about your business, but within 3 to 5 days you'll know the results for that. It's something we use for sports teams as well. If you have to get testing once or twice a week, this is a good test for you. And it is free, so that is also a great option. So if you'd like to sign up for that PCR test that's free, that takes 3 to 5 days, you go to hyvee.com/COVID testing, and you'll be able to sign up for that test. At the Hy-Vee in Owatonna, we offer a rapid test. That test costs $99. but you do get your results in 1 to 4 hours. So if you're needing results before you can fly out of the country, this would be a reliable way for you to get results quickly. However, there is that charge of $99. You can go to the same website, Hy-Vee.com/COVID testing, and you can sign up for the rapid COVID test at Hy-Vee in Owatonna. There's also several other Hy-Vee locations that offer the rapid COVID test. So if you are going up to the Twin Cities or going over to Mankato, there's options for you there. We also have a new test called the COVID antibody test. This test is for people that want to know if they were exposed to COVID, and this would tell you, because you have antibodies that your body produces after you've been exposed to COVID, and this would tell you that you did have a past infection. It doesn't necessarily tell you what kind of protection you're offered, but it just tells you that you do have antibodies to COVID. This is a $25 test. You're going to sign up for that test the same way you sign up for the others at Hy-Vee.com/COVID testing, and you're going to choose the antibody test. This is not for people that have any symptoms. So if you're symptomatic, you're going to want one of the PCR tests, which is through our drive-through and free, or the rapid test so that you can find out right away. The antibodies don't show up for a while after you've had an infection, and so the antibody test is meant for people that are past their infection and just want to know if they have the antibodies to COVID. And of course, everyone wants to know, how do I get the vaccine? So right now, the COVID vaccine is limited availability in the state of Minnesota. The best way to find out when we're going to have it at Hy-Vee is to sign up at Hy-Vee.com/COVID, and that you can put your email in and your location, and then we'll be letting you know when we have the vaccine in your area. If you have any questions, please feel free to call us at the store at Hy-Vee in Faribault, and thank you and stay safe.
Well, thanks for joining us here today, guys. My name's Brad Fino. I'm the communications coordinator with the City of Faribault here in the Park and Rec Department. I just want to first give a shout out to Bruce Krinke, finishing up his term here on the Park and Rec board. Want to send out our appreciation to him for his dedication to the Park and Rec board and all the Park and Rec amenities here in Faribault. I just wanted to do a little recap on what's going on down here at the community center and what we got going on for activities. As you know from our last news update, the community center is back open, not quite full steam ahead, but we're happy to have some of our patrons back in the building here. As I noted previously, we got a lot of our cardio equipment now into the gymnasium to allow for proper social distancing. We moved around some of our weightlifting equipment in the weight room so that folks again can properly social distance themselves from one another, and it's really been well received by the community. So kudos to our community members who are really fully embracing that and understanding the importance of that, but also to a lot of our staff members here, from full-time staff to part-time staff, who are really buying into that and fully understand how important it is to keep the facility clean and a safe place for people in the community. Our yoga classes are back in person as well. We're starting to see some people trickle back in, but we're also fully aware that folks don't feel comfortable yet, so we're trying to offer all of our programs virtually as well. So our yoga class is not only offered in person, but we're doing it through Zoom as well, along with our group exercise classes. So we want to work with folks the best way we can. A lot of people are really enjoying doing the yoga and the group exercise from home, so we intend to keep doing that for the foreseeable future. But at some point, when we start to get a little bit closer to getting back to normal, whatever that's going to look like, you can certainly get some updates from us on our website and on our social media channels. Some upcoming programs here. Just wrapped up our Faribault Frostival event. It was the first time we ever held that event in North Alexander Park here this past weekend, which would have been the 23rd. Really fun event. Got a little cold, but it was really neat to see folks gather in one of the the crown jewels of the parks here in the park system here in Faribault. Everything from horse-drawn wagon rides to launching frozen water balloons safely. Just a really neat activity, and just want to thank the folks for coming out to take advantage of that. We also got a pickleball camp coming up here February 8th, 10th, 17th, and 22nd. That's here at, or actually that's up at the Washington Recreation Center. A lot of the programs I'm going to mention here today are available on our website, which is www.faribault.org/parks. Also have a number of swim lessons going up and coming back here now that are going to be a great opportunity for some of the kids to get active and to get excited about. Kind of a little bit of changes involved with that in terms of the number of people in the classes, but for the most part that's going to look very similar to what it has in the past, albeit smaller classes. We're also really kicking off a lot of our lifeguard classes right now. We're hopeful at this point that we're going to be able to get the aquatic center open here this summer. So with that, we need to start training some of our staff. We're always looking for new lifeguards. So we got 6 different lifeguard classes coming up between here the beginning of February through the end of March. Really want folks to buy into that and really understand how important and of a big step it can be for you to take that responsibility on. It's a really fulfilling and rewarding position. And again, if you would take the class through us, you let us know you have interest in working for Park and Rec, there's a very good chance if you pass that class that you could see yourself on the Park and Rec staff here this summer. As I noted, you can find all of our activities at faribault.org/parks. We also went live with a new Park and Rec software last week, so there's might be look a little bit different on our website, but it's much more user-friendly for the folks in the community. As always, we're here for help. We're here to help you guys. We're all ears. If you got activity ideas, you have questions, you have concerns, give us a call anytime. 507-334-2064. Thanks for tuning in.
Hi everyone, it's Molly with Riverbend Nature Center, and we are excited to have public programs coming back in February. February 4th, we have a paper making class where you can log on virtually and learn how we make recycled paper at the Nature Center and get the recipe on how to make it at home. On February 13th and 27th, we have Learn to Snowshoe, where you can come and rent snowshoes from us and get some pointers on how to use them before heading out onto the trails. On Wednesday, February 17th, we have a virtual lunch and learn all about composting. So you can learn what it's all about and how you can get started composting at home. On Saturday, February 27th in the evening, we have a full moon luminary hike. Our January one was so popular that we have added one in February as well. The Maple Syrup Fun Run is virtual this year, and registration is now live on our website. You can go to rbnc.org/fun-run to learn all about it. Every length is just $40, and you can also choose to have your race t-shirt shipped to you after the race. Riverbend's really excited to announce a spring raffle, and that is an Experience Nature package where the winners, there's 3 winners, and they'll each receive 3 naturalist programs for up to 10 people, 2 Riverbend memberships, a Star Watch party with Mike Lynch, as well as some other prizes. So if you're interested to learn more, you can go on our website, rbnc.org, or you can contact us at 507-332-7151, or email us at rbncinfo@rbnc.org. Thank you so much and enjoy February.
Welcome to the Rice County Historical Society. My name is Sue Garwood and I'm the director here at the museum, and today we are in the Carlander Family Room. We're going to be showing a little bit of one of our traveling exhibits that we have. It's going to be in place for the month of February, but I thought that I might tease you a little bit with some of the details that might encourage you to come on down. I'm standing in front of the traveling exhibit from the Minnesota League of Women Voters. They put it together in celebration of their 100th anniversary, which is also the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage, the date of when women were able to vote. That took place, the first time women got to vote was in 1920, but in fact the passage of the 19th Amendment at the House, or at the state legislature, the national legislature, was October 7th, 1919. And that's the date that this organization really marks as when women's right to vote began. The reason for the 1 year gap was that it was in 1920 that the final state ratified the Constitution as is part of the process for how do you get an amendment onto the Constitution. And they ratified that amendment, and that was why the year 1920 was the first year women were able to vote in federal elections. One of the features I love on this exhibit is that at the top of each panel are these yellow banners. These are actually banners that women carried as they were in parades or other pro-women's right to vote throughout the state of Minnesota. So these are actually from banners that the Minnesota Historical Society has, as well as the League itself. In this particular case, on the first panel, there are many arguments against it, but no reasons. And what they're talking about is that there was, in fact, a group of people who were opposed to women having the right to vote. It's interesting to note that the first active organization to try and have women have the right to vote was back in July of 1848. And it would be 72 years of working and campaigning to try and get the right to vote before women would achieve that in 1920. Towards the bottom, right in the middle, you can see some of the suffrage leaders: Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, Frederick Douglass, and Alice Paul. In fact, I think you can even find a Susan B. Anthony dollar coin that were minted a while back. And these are the people who were leading and championing women's right to vote. Below that, you can see some of those who were opposed. And just as men and women were in support of it, so were some men and women opposed. I think of particular note is this vote no on women's suffrage. Let me read a couple of pieces of that to you. Vote no on women's suffrage because 90% of the women either do not want it or do not care. Because it means competition of women with men instead of cooperation, because 80% of the women eligible to vote are married and can only double or annul their husband's vote, because it can be of no benefit commensurate with the additional expense involved, because in some states, more voting women than voting men will place the government under petticoat rule. I have no idea what that means, petticoat rule. And finally, because it is unwise to risk the good we already have for the evil which may occur. Again, as they said, no solid reasons against it, arguments, but not any solid reasons why it was opposed. On this panel, it has a featured timeline of some milestones that are really interesting in the process of becoming, getting women the right to vote. I think of interesting note is 1875. It notes that women who were 21 years of age or older were able to vote and hold office in school elections. In 1898, women who were 21 years of age or older were able to vote and hold office in library elections. I think that's interesting that they could hold office in a school board, but not until 20 years later were they also able to have a vote in the library election. I don't really think about libraries as being that powerful, but they certainly must have been at the time that it required a state constitutional amendment. In Minnesota, the first resolution for state suffrage amendment was in 1907, and it failed at the Minnesota State Senate. Then in 1913, the suffrage amendment bill passed the House, but lost in the state Senate. In 1915, the state bill for state suffrage amendment failed in the Senate, again, this time by only one vote. In 1819, the 19th Amendment for presidential suffrage for women failed in the U.S. Senate by 2 votes. Then finally, in 1919, on June 4th, U.S. Congress passed the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, allowing women to vote, and then it was sent to the states for ratification. September 8th, the Minnesota legislature voted to ratify the 19th Amendment, and on October 29th, 1819, the Minnesota Suffrage Association was transformed and became the Minnesota League of Women Voters. The last state voted on August 26th and 27th of 1920, and the 19th Amendment officially became a law of the land. And the first women to vote in the entire United States were in South St. Paul, Minnesota. The next panel continues that firsts for Minnesota women and lists the number of women who, again, were remarkable in one way or another. Everything from Mabel Heard Page, who was one of the first 4 women elected to the Minnesota State Legislature, to Michelle Bachmann, who was the first Republican woman from Minnesota to be elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. The graph at the bottom of this panel depicts the number of women who were holding elected office. Not just running, because that was the panel before it, is people who ran. These are actually reflect the women who were actually in an elected office of some or another at both the state and the national level. And I think that's interesting. These are, of course, Minnesota women. But what I think is interesting is that women were first allowed to run for office in 1920 with the passage of the 19th Amendment. But it isn't until 1970s that the numbers really got out of the single digit. And it wasn't really until the 1980s that it even got above 20 for as many people as there are, and many women as there are in Minnesota. It's surprising how long that took. But it is neat to see. You can certainly see there was a surge in the 1970s and into today. This next panel talks about the efforts that the League of Women Voters were involved in. Especially towards the middle and the bottom of the panel, it talks about their legislative successes that they had. And this is just from 1921 to 1931, but I want to highlight a couple of them. They were, I think, at the bottom of the column to the left, they were able to pass legislation that said that the work week should be 55 hours for women and limited to no more than 10 hours per day. They helped, in the next column over, they helped to strengthen the minimum wage law. They helped pass a bill to allow women to serve on juries, which was something that couldn't happen before. This next one is pretty startling. They helped pass amendments to the marriage laws that raised the minimum age of girls to 15 who could be. So prior to that time, you could be under the age of 15 and get married. I think that's pretty startling. But these are just some of the things that they did to help to create a better life for children and families. The League has not only helped pass legislation, but they've really worked hard at educating the citizens. In fact, in 1920, you can see there's a photograph there right below the banner of a group of women, and they literally had citizenship schools. These were schools intended to help women understand the civics and how Bill works and about the Constitution and so on. They've continued that education of the voting public by issuing publications on a variety of different topics. They study those topics and then they have them written. Everything from women in the labor force to human resources, financing public services in Minnesota, and so on, all the way, including even in 2000, Minnesota farming. The League continues to have an important role in our election process. In particular, they are often the ones who help facilitate the debates and so on at the local level. And so civil debates and forums, they are, by the way, nonpartisan. It's really important that they do not favor one candidate or another. They're really interested just simply in helping to ensure that the general public is informed about the candidates and their beliefs and plans for the future. This is just a very brief sampling of the details that are here in this exhibit, and I invite you all to come on in and take a look at the exhibit. However, if you'd like to learn more than what's here, I strongly encourage you to take a look at the book Gentle Warriors. It was published by, or written, I should say, by Clara Uland. She was one of the earliest folks involved with Minnesota suffrage, and it is something that's available at the local public library. It's also sold through the Minnesota Historical Society. You don't have to buy a book or even check it out of the library, though. Again, you're welcome to come on in and take a look at this exhibit. We're here at the Historical Society. We are open to the public Monday through Friday from 9 to 4. We're going to ask you to wear a mask when you come in, and there will be one-way traffic throughout the museum, but that will include a stop back here at the exhibit if you ask. We're here at 1814 Northwest 2nd Avenue. We're on the east end of the Rice County Fairgrounds. We are here, like I said, Monday through Friday from 9 to 4. Other times are available by appointment. You can find us on the web at www.rchistory.org or give us a call at 507-332-2121. Rice County Historical Society, preserving the past for future generations.
First United Bank and the Junior Board of Directors is proud to support Faribault Community Television.